Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be me discussing a book that literally just came out like the day after I filmed this, and that is All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. Let's just kind of get into it. If you guys like this video, let me know in the comments below. Hit like, subscribe, all those fun things. And if you have a book you want me to review that I have mentioned in my previous hauls, or maybe you've seen me add it to a TBR on Goodreads or Storygraph, let me know and I'll go ahead and make sure to prioritize those for you. But let's just get into it. So first things first, before I get into the nitty-gritty, I wanted to thank Penguin Teen for providing me with an arc of this book. I received this arc like pretty early on. I just took my time to read it because I wanted to be in the right headspace to really enjoy all of Sabaa Tahir's amazing writing, and it was so worth it. Moving on to the synopsis, it's almost told in dual perspective. The first perspective following Misbah, a young Pakistani immigrant, follow her life after she is newlywed and then ends up leaving her homeland after a tragic death, buys a hotel, and her life in between. The second set of point of views is set in the not so far future, following Saluddin, who is her son, and Noor, who is her son's best friend. Now, Sal and Noor have been best friends, thick as thieves, for who knows how long. That is until a fight kind of separates them for quite some time. Now kind of brought back together when Misbah is terminally ill. They find themselves at different points in their lives, but still caring about each other to a very strong degree. Sal is stuck trying to put his life together while his mother is going through this thing and tries to salvage their hotel while also dealing with his grieving and alcoholic father, while Noor is trying to get herself out of Juniper, California, into a better life for herself while avoiding her uncle's wrath, who would much rather have her stay and run the liquor store instead of going off to college. Trigger warnings for this. Now, the arc did have trigger warnings on the front cover. I don't know if the physical copy will have one as well. I am buying my copy literally tomorrow during my lunchtime, just zooming off to Barnes & Noble and going from there. But trigger warnings for this, let me just refer to the handy dandy phone. A lot of these topics are pretty heavy, so I would go ahead and just be really careful. But starting off with their trigger warnings, there is drug and alcohol addiction very heavily written into the book. There's physical abuse, Islamophobia, mentions of repressed sexual assault, tense exchanges with law enforcement, as well as death. There's a lot of death in this one. Not a lot, but like enough to like probably have you like, meh. I would genuinely take these trigger warnings into consideration because unfortunately, even for myself, some of these trigger warnings did hit a little hard and I had to like take a step back every now and again. Now, my first thoughts is that I needed the book. I needed the book right away. I wanted to read an arc of it. I needed it in my hands. I needed to read it, even though I have not finished An Ember in the Ashes, which is her first series. I just know that Sabaa is an amazing writer and is a really evocative writer in terms of like how she gets feelings out and how she creates these wonderful characters that you feel something for. So I was just like, I don't care that I haven't finished the series yet. Thankfully, this is not set in the same universe. It is contemporary, set in the modern day. So I was just like, I need it. I'm going to. So when Penguin Teen offered me their list of books that were coming out that I wanted arc for, I hit All My Rage and then just hit submit. I'm pretty sure I asked for some other books too. I do have a couple that they like sent to me that I still have to like add to my list and make sure that I am reading and reviewing. But I was super excited when I did receive the arc, and I told myself that I was going to wait until closer to the release date. Not because I had this amazing patience, like it was staring at me every time I opened up my Kindle, but because I didn't want to read it so far in advance that I was stuck waiting months later for the physical copy. So I was like, I'm just gonna wait until the last like week of February. I can go ahead and read it then and just wait like a couple days. I can do it. And I did. So here we are. Moving on to the one thing I didn't like, and I say this didn't like very loosely. This is just me being very nitpicky, because at some point I was like, well, what did I not like about this book? And I went through like reviews, just like, because I always do this when I write a review for anything. And I read previous reviews in case like I didn't remember something or I didn't notice something, and that was like a little itch in the back of my head that's like, we don't like this. But no one seemed to have a negative thing to say about the book, so this is me very like nitpicky and just like having been a reader and not entirely sure what was missing. I like sat down with myself and figured it out, and that was that I really wish that we had gotten more of Misbah's perspective. This isn't so much a spoiler, this is going to be a spoiler-free review, But in terms of Mizpah's perspective, I thought we were going to get a lot more of her because she is like the previous generation. She does set the tone for this, but instead a lot of her chapters were more interludes and kind of set the tone for what happened to Noor and Sal in the future. And then as we progress further into the book, her point of view, her like chapters became more and more sparse, which is fine, but I really did just want to see everything from her perspective, more from her perspective. And she was just such a wonderful narrator, and she just had such a warm heart that I desperately just needed to see more of her. But that's again super nitpicky on my part. It wasn't something that I was like, oh, I wish that we had less of so and so and more of her. I felt like the balance was there, but again, well, it wasn't something that like I was like desperate for, but I just wanted to see more because I wanted to see more of Mizpah in the book. It's really all I have, and that's if I'm like terribly nitpicking. Starting off with the good things, I just want to talk about the characters. I know I feel like every review I'm always like, oh, the characters. I'm a very character-driven person, and think this is a very character-driven book. A very character-driven book, thankfully, and I just love how well written all of them were. There were even some really shitty ones that I was just like, but I just loved how well written they were. I found myself rooting for all of them. I wanted Sal's father to overcome his addiction. I wanted Noor to get out into college. I wanted Sal to see that there was, to like really start to see there was more to the world and like start to let go of his mother whom he loved. I just wanted to see more of everyone, and I was so happy, and not happy, it was a very deep and sad book, but I was just so enthralled with everyone and their plight, and I really just rooted for everyone. Like, they didn't feel like characters that I was reading and was like forming in my head. Right off the bat, they felt like fully formed people that were just leaping off of the page. They felt like someone I knew in high school, like not like them specifically, but like just like how well that they like came off the page and how real they felt. They didn't feel like a fictional character to me. They felt like someone I had known for years, and like it just goes to show like the kind of writer that Sabaa Tahir is. Moving on in that same vein, Sabaa's writing style was absolutely evocative. Was very evocative and thought-provoking, and just a very basically synonyms, and just a very emotional read. She had not only a way of developing these characters in such a short time, but also developing these emotions that come with, these complicated emotions that come with grief and loss, and just all the anger and the hurt that you feel in between, and the sense of loss, because you are basically losing a limb. You're losing part of yourself, and that part of yourself that maybe you didn't get a chance to connect to very well, or maybe you had more regrets over. And she just wrote it so freaking well. She knew how to pull at the heartstrings at the exact moment. You could really tell that All My Rage was a passion project for her, and it felt so good. Like, if not good, but like the way she wrote it. Like, I'm forgetting if this is supposed to be autobiographical in any way, shape, or form. I think there is a little bit. Either way, it was just so good, and her writing has evolved. Like, I haven't read her recent work, which is A Sky and Storm, so it's still like, I do have like 2 more books to fill the blanks from where she was in A Torch Against the Night to All My Rage, but like she has grown so much as a writer just from like those books alone that I'm just like, oh, it's so good. Honestly, if I had the chance, I would have read this book in one sitting. A lot of the things that kept me from reading it in one sitting was when I was at work. I only have an hour for lunch. And 2, like I said in the beginning, there are a lot of hard topics in this book. Not only does it deal with loss and grief and the complex emotions that come with it, but it also deals with physical abuse and Islamophobia behind it all. So it's just, there are a lot of things in this book that had me needing to like put the book down and just take a few deep breaths and like maybe ground myself back in reality before jumping back into it, because you do get pulled in really quickly and you do feel for the characters very quickly. You don't have to build a relationship with them. It's already basically there when you pick up the book. I love the complex family relationships that I feel like can only really come from having been an immigrant family, stemming from that weird sense of loyalty that you have to your family no matter what, all the way down to this weird, annoying, almost detrimental sense of gratitude that you have toward your family, because at the end of it, they're literally all that you have. We see that particularly with Noor and her relationship with her uncle, and it just feels, and I feel like a particular brand that you get with immigrant families, like a particular brand of complex that you get with immigrant families, Not saying that non-immigrant families can't be as complex, but I feel like in this case where all you literally have is just your family and your faith, it shows a lot of the complexities and the difficulties and like the little mental gymnastics you have to go through and the hurdles you have to jump to come to certain conclusions, to certain justifications and explanations to make sense of like this difficult situation that you're in. And with this complex familial relationships, there's also a sense of like resentment toward them because you are the child and now suddenly you are trapped being the parent for this particular person, and the sacrifices that they made for you, you now have to make for them. And it's just an interesting sense of like debt. In Tagalog we call it utang loob, na loob, but I don't know, I guess it's like gratitude or like, it's a weird translation, but in that case it's specific to just like that brand of like complex family relationships. Overall, I think this was a wonderful story about grief and loss and death and all the complex emotions and processes that you go through when you lose a family member and a loved one, and just the different ways of like coping and figuring things out in a world that makes things difficult for you to figure it out. The book will tear at your heartstrings and make you feel all the feelings, but I think it's an important read, especially for younger readers, to read something that isn't talked about very often. It's a very hard-hitting book. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I know I've said this about a couple books now since it's March, but this is definitely going to be a top 10 for me. It's definitely going to be top 3 at the most. It's going to be up there for a new favorite, and I cannot wait to have the physical copy in my hands, hopefully tomorrow. Putting it in the universe now. Everything got shipped properly and all the books will be Barnes & Noble tomorrow. But that is it for my review of All My Rage by Sabaa Tahir. If you guys have read this book already, or you guys are waiting on the your copy to come in, let me know in the comments. But until then, hopefully you guys enjoy this book as much as I did when you guys pick it up. Until then, I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Stay safe. Bye.